Okay.
One of them is just like you're beautiful, the mysterious preconception
Oh yeah,
story. I would love to talk to you about that sometime. I just think it's such a rich life, just like life.
for sure. Definitely life. Basically, me and my partner have been together for 4 years and we've never even had any accidents with like pregnancy. And so we both kind of were like, well, maybe there's some infertility there. Not that we were like actively trying, but that there was enough instances where you would think something might happen. And when we basically had booked a trip to India because we were going to go study Ayurveda. And then it was booked for, I think, February. But my mom, she had cancer. And so, like, everything was going fine with her chemo treatments. And then she had an accident. She fell and hit the back of her skull. She had this big, like, blood clot thing. And I think that was kind of the start of her decline because within 3 weeks, it just was like all went downhill. And she went from working in the yard and doing regular things and then straight to the hospital. And then it was like a hospice decision within like 10 days. And because her red blood cell count, it was really tragic and it was very stressful, it was just so intense. And so I wasn't even gonna go to India. I felt like I don't know if I could do this, but Nelly was just like, come on, we have to. It'll be good for you. We pushed the trip an extra month. And his birthday had happened after my mom passed away, and like we try to get back to some normalcy because cancer, you that person could maybe not make it. You have a little bit more like time to prepare. But we ended up flying out to India in March, and when I got there, I was just like really, at first it was fine. I felt like a little weird eating the food because like everything was like running through me, but they were like, oh, you have a European stomach, you just need to get used to the food. And I'm like, well, I like Indian food. I like spicy food. And so they were like, well, this is different. You're in India. And then we had yoga classes every day and I was getting so weak. It was like I couldn't do what they were doing. And I'm like, this is something I do every day. This is weird. But again, nothing clicked. And I would like, we were on the third floor where our little room was. And I would like die going up the stairs. And they were like, well, you have altitude sickness because you're in the Himalayas. And so it can make your muscles weak. And I'm just like, this is so weird. I've traveled so many places before and I've never had this problem. I even lived I used to snowboard all the time. I lived in Reno and I'm like, the altitude never hit me up there. And that's almost 5,000 feet. And
Yes.
literally it came down to I almost was like had an adverse for India because I could not stop like smelling the poop and the garbage everywhere. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, and usually, again, I've been to very poor places before. It wasn't such a shock thing for me, but it was like my senses were so heightened. And so literally Nelly, he loves incense. And so he like burns incense nonstop at home. And so we get to India and it's like land of the incense. He's like lighting one all the time. And it made me so sick. I was like, ooh. And then he started eating a banana at the same time. And it was like, I was like about to throw up. And I was like, I don't know why, but you have to put these incense out and that banana stinks so bad. And he was like, oh, you probably pregnant. And I was just like, okay, we need a test. Like that could be it. No, and it was so weird. And then also too, I had one of the girls, I was like, can you find me a test? Because we had been there a couple weeks, but I didn't even know where the pharmacy or anything was at. She was like, they probably have a little thing down the street. She went to go give me a test, and I remember my boobs hurting really bad as well. And I like sat in the sun and it like went away, which was weird. I was like, maybe I needed some vitamin D. I don't know what was going on. But when I took that test, it was like 3 a.m. because you want to wait till like that first morning pee. But I think I was so anxious. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I like woke Nelly out of sleep because it said positive, which I wasn't surprised because I was like, everything was just so backwards. But I think I was so overwhelmed, I couldn't even like put the pieces together. You know what I mean? Because it was like mom passing away and then trying to get on an international trip. And now we're going to be gone for 5 weeks and you're packing and you're like also under a lot of pressure because you're trying to clean up an estate. As soon as somebody dies, they're like, oh, you need a lawyer, you need this, you need that. And it was like, the pause felt very hard for me to do too, because I was like, there is so much that needs to be done right now and it needs to be done ASAP. I remember just being in India and just thinking, oh my God, me and Nelly were both freaked out. He just went right back to sleep after I told him. He was like, oh my God, really? But he was so tired. He was like, I can't right now. I got to just do this in the morning. And I was like, oh, but I'm freaking out. I need you to stay up. He slept so good out there because we were by a waterfall, though. There was a waterfall by our window. And it was really hard to like not sleep in there. And so he woke up like a couple hours later and he was like, is it real? And I was like, I've been waiting for you to get up. And so then he was like, this is so exciting, but I think I need to go meditate. And then he left and he like went to go meditate and he came back and he was like, now I can receive this information. I was just like, geez Louise, I've had to sit with it. And you're just like, I need a meditation. I need a nap. I can't process this. But I think it's just because we had so much going on. We also like took a bigger chance on our business that we were creating. And we took out a bunch of business loans. And then it's just like, oh, now we're in India and now there's a baby on the way and your mom just died and you got to pay for the lawyer. And it was so much for me. But it was weird because like as soon as I found out, it was like something told me, oh, it's a boy. And I was like, oh, and his name came from like a boat on the side of a boat we saw in Nakoa. And it was like years prior. And we're like, if we ever have a kid, we should name him Nakoa. And it's a Hawaiian boy's name for warrior. But we switched the spelling up a little bit. So it didn't mean warrior because my mom's name means warrior too. And I'm like, you can't just have warrior. That's hardcore. Might be setting him up for something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you put the I, it like means like affection and grace. And I'm like, gentle warrior. But yeah, so it was very hard to do, to spend a couple more weeks after finding that out in India because I was fasting as well because I thought I had like a parasite and I'm like, we're going to clean this out. I'm using all these like detox herbs and like trying to fix my stomach before I even knew I was pregnant. I lost like 12 pounds. I was so skinny because I'm already only like 122 anyway. So for me to go to 110, I was just like skin and bones. And like, you're not even supposed to use those herbs when you're pregnant because like it could cause miscarriage because you're like flushing. And I was literally just drinking coconuts and I maybe had like some grapes and some fruit every once in a while, but I couldn't even tolerate anything. And so like I knew it was like, if I already flushed my system and fasted for 10 days and he's still here, he's gonna be okay. I just knew he wanted to be there. I'm like, he's gonna be okay. He must be really strong. And then I felt like my mom probably also either sent him or maybe she reincarnated real fast. I don't think so, but you know what I mean? You just never know.
There's that mysterious relationship between her passing away and you
immediately
after like not.
And then it wasn't even like me and him were like, because it's like my mom just died. It's not like we're in the mood really. You know what I'm saying? I was like really having to program myself to get out of the grief and being like, we can enjoy a moment of normalcy. Like it's his birthday, it's Valentine's Day, it's, you know what I mean? Like it's gonna be okay. You know? It was it just was really surprising. And I mean, it was really hard to hold. That was the hardest thing for me, I think, was to hold two very different emotions at the same time. Like I felt such a deep sadness and like a loss, which I mean, you know, obviously I was partly prepared for it. So like that helped, I think. But you're also like I was kind of scared because I'm like, I'm about to be 38. Like, not that that's old, but like also like I didn't really think I was going to have kids. You know what I mean? And so there was that other element. And so I didn't even know, like, I just wasn't prepared mentally for anything. And it just felt like everything was hitting at one time and I just had to like hurry up. Like it just, that everything felt like a rush. Like it was like, okay, you're in India. Now when you get back, you gotta find a midwife. You gotta do this, you gotta do that. You know, like you gotta fix your mom's stuff. You gotta get the house in order. Are you selling the house? It just became like so much stuff. And it was very overwhelming for sure. And I was praying the whole time that like he wouldn't, even though I knew he was gonna feel it. But I was like, I hope this doesn't like, you know, mess him up at all, because it was just so much mental. Tough.
And so that's like, you in the midst of all of that, you were looking for a midwife.
Oh yeah, well, and that's the thing that became the next biggest thing at that point. It was like I really needed a lawyer for my mom's stuff first, but then I was like, no, like I'm gonna feel more peace if I find a midwife who can help me, who it was hard again, because it wasn't actually hard finding you, because like Google just went ahead and like put you on Google. Like it just came right to me, which was like, oh.
Nice.
I really feel like that always happens to me. Like I have the mindset of like, I'm always going to get what I need in the moment. Like, I'm like, I'm going to find what I need. I had to go through a couple of interviews with a couple other midwives first, because as you know, like I've been vegan, I've been raw vegan, I've been fruitarian, I've fasted, I've done a lot of cleansing, I've done a lot of psychedelics, and like this all has kind of cultivated this more organic, like natural way of doing things for me. Like I have a big respect for how things were done before technology, before the medical industry, before like how did we get here? You know what I mean? If thousands of generations were able to birth babies out of a hospital, like it can be done. And I just didn't want to have to go through the poking and the prodding and the appointments and the just so much unnecessary things to have a baby. Like I just felt like, okay, this baby came to me, like he's here, he's strong already because I already flushed and he didn't come out. And I know he's got some strength, like he's not a weak fetus, you know?
Yeah.
And I just felt like he was supposed to come. I'm like, there's no way God would just like take my mom and then like let me get pregnant and take a baby too. Like there would just be no way. Even if it happened, I was prepared for that too. But I just was like, it would be a lot. Like that would be a hell of a lesson. Like I don't know if I needed that lesson. And so when I found you, it was just so refreshing to talk to you. Like I remember when I got to talk to you on Zoom, like immediately your energy just was like calming to me. Like, and I was like, oh, I can, because I had talked to a few before you. And like I said, one of the main questions that I had asked, like everybody answered like a by a book type of answer. And it bothered me because I felt like nobody really knew, and that they were trying to like just give me something palatable for me to like accept versus like being in this critical thinking mode with me and appreciating a question that might be outside of the box, which was the Rogaine, right? Because I just had a feeling that my boyfriend was positive. I just had a feeling of his blood type, because all his sisters, they never needed a Rogaine shot. So I'm like, okay, if they're positive, there's probably a chance he's positive. And so, and I knew my mom had a Rogaine shot with me. So I know my dad was also positive. And it just, I didn't really want that because I was like, what, for one, if it's a blood product, like I don't know what's in it and nobody can explain to me exactly what's in it. And then like, if it's really necessary, like why is it being done so late in the pregnancy? Because if my body is going to eject a fetus, why is it waiting until work week 35 to do so, or whatever, whenever they're administered, right? That was the hard part for me to accept. Like I was just like, if I'm gonna get rid of it, then like wouldn't that happen immediately? And then you were the only one who could break down the question. You were like, well, for your first pregnancy, like not necessarily, but the second one it would be more, you know, because you explained everything. You're like, it sensitizes, and I just wanted somebody to explain it to me that made sense. Then it became, then the ball became in my court versus like you have to follow this rule because we said so. And like let me make an informed decision. And I think that was the biggest part, was like not only just the specifics of the question, but that you allowed me to process it myself and make a decision versus, you know, you pushing a decision onto me. And that's what the other midwives were doing. And then they were very much so like, have you had an ultrasound? Oh, you're already 12 weeks, you need to do this. And it just felt pressure. And I was like, I have enough pressure. I can't have you people pushing me around. Okay, I'm gonna explode. Like, I already have to make so many decisions in my life. I need things to be like, I need to be able to listen to my spirit. I need to be able to hear what I need to do. Otherwise, like things are not going to go smooth if I feel pressured and I'm making decisions based on your fear that you're projecting onto me about something you think I should do because of how you were trained, but you don't really actually have the knowledge outside of your training. So because there's no like polarity in your thinking, there's no critical thinking here. You're just spitting out something that you heard. You haven't questioned the question I gave you, you know? And so I was like, when I met you, I was like, okay, can she do it? And then you were like, well, I'm 4 hours away. I'm like, okay, how are we going to do this? I was like, is this going to work? But I just felt like, again, I was like, it would, because I was just ready to just do it by myself. I was like, I'll have a free birth.
Yeah.
But my boyfriend was like, no, you're not. And then everybody in the family was like, hey, no, you're not. I'm like, okay, I need to find somebody that can at least, give me some guidance. And thank God that was a thing, because as you know, when he was born, we definitely needed somebody with experience to get him out. He did a great job at that too. But yeah, that's yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to say, like, one of the obstacles that you felt was just the distance of that 4 hours.
That was
and
it.
maybe also that you really wanted a free birth, but you, for your social situation, you kind of needed to have some kind of professional there.
Yeah.
And I felt like, okay, somebody who you could let into your space that would respect your autonomy.
Yeah,
while
for
also
sure.
kind of satisfying your family's need to have
some
professional involved in your care.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I just think for my side and his side too, like it was just better because, like, they've all went through the hospital processes. So then they're asking all the questions. Oh, have you went to this checkup? Have they done this yet? Have they, took this test? And it was like, I didn't even care about the testing stuff. But then it was like, okay, I've made informed decisions with my partner to have certain things done. Like if he wanted to test for this, like, let me make some compromises with my partner at least. But it was still a lot of pressure with my family and his family. Like I felt pressured to do certain things. And I kept having, because I would like freak out on text message to you, like, oh my God, like they think this. And you're like, okay, come back to center, like ground yourself. Like you're the one being the mom and you're the one giving birth. Like, I'm like, okay, sorry, freaked out. You also have to play therapist, which is a crazy thing too, right? It's like, it's a big deal probably to
so much of midwifery is really psychological, I think. Just like an emotional, I feel like a lot of times I'm trying to be like the whole village, like in one person.
Yeah, I can see that for sure, because it's like you're managing, like you gotta, if it's, and I mean, of course you have kids too, so how the hormones are and how, like, I mean, randomly we just cry out of nowhere, and it's like I've had like bawling cries, like just random, and and then your partner's like, "What's going on? Are you okay?" And you're like, "I don't know. I don't know if I'm okay." But yeah, no, I can imagine, like how much you have to be the container, not only for the emotions, but like for assisting women to get back in their body, assisted women to getting back on the ground, right? Because we'll just be in our minds and like floating off in the middle of nowhere, all these crazy thoughts.
Yeah, and all the pressures from the family, and
yes, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
Yeah.
And then you feel proud though, like when you get through it, because you're like, again, like first time mom is like, man, the learning curve is crazy. Like being pregnant for the first time and trying to learn, and then like, manage like, the fears that come up, and manage like other people's expectations, and like it's just such an overload. And like you think like, man, like if we could just, there's the dog, just if in society that like being pregnant and like working is a great thing, but can we get a break? And then can we get a longer break when we have a baby? And I feel like there's like a reformation that like you need almost once you experience it. You're like, wow, my respect for women who are pregnant and who just gave birth and who become mothers, like that portal is just so, I guess, grand in a sense. You know what I mean? I just feel like we don't honor, or society doesn't honor it enough, like, and now that I went through it, it almost makes you want to like advocate. Like, I'm just like, I got really lucky to be able to finish everything in time for, and I had good credit. So I was able to like be able to go into debt and, like to buy myself some time in this space, and it's like, I think it's crazy when some women don't get that advantage, like, oh, you got to go back to work after 6 weeks. At 6 weeks is nuts. Like you're not even competent in your brain, and you're just like holding this little baby, and you're like, now I got to go to work. Like, what? That doesn't make it. 12 weeks I can make a little more sense, but 6 weeks is way too early. It just definitely, it changed my whole thought process on and just respect levels, you know what I mean, for women.
Yeah.
Process.
Like, what did you learn about yourself, or what did you discover about yourself in the process of pregnancy and birthing, or like what, in that threshold time, like what did you come through the other side with?
I mean, in real time, I feel like I was prepared in other ways for the experience, which I got like, I think sometimes when you get gifts like, or wisdoms, you don't actually know how important it is until you're put in a situation where you can use it. Right. And so it's like, it's only theory. It's only theory until it's action. And so like when it is action, it's almost like the gratitude you feel from like all these battles I fought, like it makes sense now. You know what I mean? Like, because what I got from it, from all the surrendering, from all the hardships in life, if you've been able to learn about surrender, but then also like taking leaps of faith as well, right? Not being stuck in one place and being able to like shift and be able to lose everything. And I've handled so many big things that like pregnancy, although a very big thing, it kind of proved to me that like my level of, or my ability to surrender was very predominant. You know what I mean? Because it was just like, especially after losing my mom, I think that was also like a huge thing, because it's like I felt like nothing could be worse than that. You know what I mean? Then I went through the pregnancy. My hands were up already. I was like, there's nothing. We don't control life and death. You know what I mean? We can try to manage it if we can, but we don't make the final call. And so there's no saving anything or saving anyone. You know what I mean? You don't, there's no decision that I could have made to make it different. And I think that I knew that deep in my core, and that I wasn't afraid of anything that was going to happen. Even when I did have the fears that come up, like it just would be like another like reminder, just surrender. You can't do anything else. You know what I mean?
So powerful. That's such powerful with for labor and birthing and parenting and life.
Well, and for birthing, I think especially too, because it's just you just get taken for a ride at that point. And if you're not able to surrender, it's probably way harder. You know what I mean?
So much you did so beautifully with that.
Thanks. It didn't feel like it, but
you were just meeting it. It's so intense, and all you can do is just meet it with your own surrender and intensity in a way.
I met it, and I cussed a lot.
I don't remember that so much.
Well, I just was like, I knew they say it's the most painful thing that you'll ever experience, and like going through it, when you start, it is. There can't be nothing more painful than that, because the way that it rocks you, you're just being taken over. I see why women, that's the thing, you go to a hospital, of course you'd be like, hit me with the drugs. But when you don't have that option, then that was another important thing for me too, is that I didn't want to have that option. You know what I mean? I wanted to feel it, everything. And it was interesting, because at some point the pain stopped, and then it became an endurance thing. And then that was even harder too, because I don't even have anything left at this point. But then you're trying to push. So it definitely is, it's a test of strength for sure. And your ability to just keep trying to refocus when it takes you out. Obviously, you and Penelope, she was so good. She was like, I've done this twice. It's going to be okay. No. Oh my God. But I can see now, once you get like clear, because at first I was like, I'll never do this again. I was like, this is the worst thing ever. You're just like putting a big caution tape over that part of your brain. Don't even think about it. And then breastfeeding was horrid. That was even, and that's almost worse than birth, because it lasts 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Versus the 8 hours. Oh my God, that was so terrible. And so then that was like a constant reminder of like, just don't do this again. But then you got through that. Then they're smiling at you, and then you're just like, this precious thing came out of me. Oh my God. I'm sure that's why people, like, I have a friend who has 4 kids, and she's like, I just want one more, just one more. And I'm just like, girl, I get it now. I didn't before. I still don't know if you should do it, but because 4 kids is a circus at that point. The house, every time I go over there, I'm like, it's a fun house, boy.
It's so full. It's a lot.
Yes, it's nonstop. I'm like, I get overstimulated going over there, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I don't know if I could do this, because one overstimulates me. But I saw the other day that said one kid is hobby parenting, and I'm like, so maybe I should leave it as a hobby.
It's fun. There's both sides. On the one hand, it's such a learning curve with the first, so the second in some ways feels easier, but also then there's two. There's just more needs in the room.
For sure.
Just more needs.
Oh my God. But I think too, the needs of a baby is different too, because you're just constant. At least when they start to be able to do their own thing, you just try to help them not hurt themselves. Versus like actually can't even be transferred everywhere, rocked or fed and everything. But it showed me the cycles of life and death too, I think, because at one point I was probably 7 months pregnant, maybe 8, and I had to babysit my grandma who has Parkinson's. So like she can't walk or anything. Like she needs to be put into a wheelchair to the bathroom, put on the potty, wiped, put back. And so like in my mind, like that experience, I was like, dang, this is literally that we go right back into that stage of infancy. She's, you know what I mean? She has to be fully taken care of, just like this baby that's about to come out of me. But I'll choose a baby just because I'm lifting 100 and something pounds of dead weight. That's a whole another level. You're like, ugh, you know what I mean?
Well, especially with 8 months pregnant.
Oh yeah, no, that didn't help. And she's like, "Don't hurt the baby." She was so scared. I was like, "Girl, it's gonna be okay." I said, "He's fine in there, and we already we established this already." He was like, "Don't work out," but she's old school, so it was like they think you're not supposed to work out, and they think you're just supposed to sit around and like eat pastries all day. And it's just like, no, I'm still working out. I'm still lifting weights. I'm just not doing nothing crazy. Just because it's like peace of mind to get a good exercise in.
So good for mental health.
For sure.
I want to mention just the possibilities because you're vegan. I just want to like, if people are listening to this, I just want to let them know just like how amazing and strong vegan babies can be. I don't know how to say this, but your tissues were so strong. I was like afraid that can I talk about your perineum?
No, go ahead. I don't have nothing off limits. I'm usually the one they have to tell to tone it down because everything is open for conversation.
I had, in serving some vegetarians in the past, sometimes the perineum can be really friable, like it just can tear really easily. And what I learned from attending you, Tatum, was it really matters about the diet, right? It's not just vegan, vegetarian, omnivore. It's what are you actually putting in your body? And you're just so tuned to health and continuing to exercise and do the yoga and take real good nourishing food into your body. And Tatum's tissues were so strong that we literally had to help open her pelvic floor because her pelvic floor was amazing, and your just the tissue itself was so strong that there was no tearing, maybe the tiniest bit, nothing significant. And I was just like, I really just wanted to let people know that a high quality vegan diet
for sure
grow a healthy mama and a healthy baby. He did come out a little skinny, but how many? Tell us how fast he grew with your vegan mom.
He's almost tripled his birth weight. He's 20. He's 20 pounds, and he's not even 6 months old. He's huge, and he was gaining he was gaining a pound a week for the first 13 weeks, and so it was like heavy boy. It was like no newborn clothes. Like he was out of them immediately. But yeah, no, he gained weight really, really fast and really good. He eats really, really good. He's powerful. And then his strength of his body, it's my friend has a baby too, who's 3 weeks younger. And her baby is so much more delicate. And he's like a tank. You don't feel like you're carrying something like that. It feels like he's not going to hurt himself. It's like he's solid. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, we really focused on, because your guidance too. You were like, I need to get more protein. I did a lot of research while I was pregnant. We took like a lot of spirulina, and I got it raw and fresh spirulina. I had it shipped from Florida, actually. That was like a whole thing. But they come in these jars and it's green. And like I ordered like a surplus, and I put them in ice cube things and froze them, and I put them in my smoothies, because spirulina is known for lots of minerals, vitamins, but also the protein level of spirulina. And then I was taking a green food as well. And then you had me taking chlorophyll for my blood because my blood count ended up being kind of low. And then my iron was low, so I had an iron supplement, but I was also eating dates and things that I could find that were more natural sources of iron. But this is the type of stuff I like to do anyway, because I was always curious about what does food do to the body. But I think probably what really helped me is that at one point, I think that I totally reset my body. And so like when I fasted, and it was because I got in an accident though, I fell off my skateboard and I like fractured my skull. And I almost lost my eye too. It was like my whole face, I fell right into the concrete and was unconscious for hours. When I came out, they gave me all this medicine and I started having all these bad effects with the medicine. I was having blackout migraines, and then I broke out in hives, and then it messed up my stomach where, because I was on 3 different antibiotics at the time, I couldn't even eat food. It probably destroyed my gut, which I didn't even know at the time. It was just like I would eat stuff and either throw it up or just wouldn't want to eat, lack of appetite. And so I started doing a lot of research, and I was like, I got to figure out how to fix this without them, because what are they going to do if they're giving me something to help me heal, but it's causing blackout migraines? You know what I mean? Obviously, I have some inflammation in my brain. I just went through like a crazy herbal protocol, and I feel like my whole body reset after that. And I did a lot of yoga and strength training, and I just went into this mode of I would say healing the physical body, but of course you know that like you detox everything else, your emotions and like all kinds of stuff. And I think that and then after raw veganism, going back into just regular vegan. And it's hard to say that too, because like I eat honey. I don't know, like some people would argue with me that, and then I wear leather shoes. And so I'm like, we can say plant-based. I don't know, because not that I don't care about the animals. I just think that we should just be more conscious about how we consume. And I think because I don't think there's a problem with certain diets. I think that a lot of us just need to cleanse. And even if we're on a meat diet, it's not that meat is bad for us. It's that years of processed foods and sugars and cereals. When we were kids, we ate like that. Most of us did. When you get older, and even if you're healthy, you have to think like all of this, a lot of that stuff is still stuck in tissue. And until we fully like release it, then it's just, it stays there. It clogs up our lymph system. Our eliminative organs don't work as well. But in saying all of that, once you cleanse and then you go back to rebuilding, now I used to weigh almost 140 pounds. And then like after my whole vegan healing thing, my body naturally sits at like 122 to 125 now. It's very difficult to like gain weight, which is interesting. And I went back down to pre-pregnancy size now in 5 months. You know what I mean? And I don't have any stretch marks. And you know what I mean? And like you said, like my pelvic floor is strong. I didn't have any pain during pregnancy. It never felt. Do you want me to hold him real quick?
Feel free to take care of that guy if you need to.
He's probably tired. What's the matter? Here.
Oh.
Hold on. Okay, we're curious. There we go.
Are you back with Mama? That's so much better. For a walk.
He's mad. But
will you tell us a little bit about your business? I feel like what you're talking about leads right into what you guys are doing.
Well, like I said, I did a lot of herbal cleanses, but I used a lot of herbs that were actually harvested in America. There is a thing to me, like about using local things for certain things, right? Like if you have nettle outside, that's actually tailored to the environment, which you're more tailored to, which is like a great option, I think, for people. But we got into Ayurveda, mainly my boyfriend, he started off with ashwagandha. And if you know about ashwagandha, it's like the king of herbs. And like in India, they're like ashwagandha. It's like all hail ashwagandha. And it definitely, when I started learning about adaptogens, and then I do love old practices to me. Like I feel like in India, like this is such an old, even their religion predates like the Bible. It predates a lot of things that like we're used to. And so you're like, this is like an ancient form of healing. Let's dig into this. Our business, basically, we started off just having ashwagandha, but then when we went to India, we found shatavari is another herb we can mix with ashwagandha. And we did, because I was taking it. Sorry, we found shatavari before India. And we started mixing it with the ashwagandha, and I started taking it, and then it's really good for women's fertility too. That could have been the reason why he's here too, right? It probably added to it.
You had never mentioned that before.
But actually, shatavari is very good for women's health. It benefits men as well, but in specific, they call her the queen and ashwagandha the king. And so we really wanted a formula that was masculine and feminine balanced. And so that would bring balance and harmony into the body. But I started taking it as well. And yeah, I took it for, what do you think, a couple months before we went to India? I was taking it because my mom, when she was dying, it was like I was popping ashwagandha candy because it was just so stressful. I was just whatever I could do to just kind of help that stress. But yeah, that, and then when we went to India, one of the herbs, actually, we were using some herbs out there to like cleanse, and it kind of gave us an idea too. We need to like make something that can go, because adaptogens are mainly for homeostasis in the body. So they help manage different systems, the endocrine system. It helps manage stress because it does happen to balance things out. And so, sorry, I'm trying to like keep it, I'm trying not to go too deep. But then a lot of the things that people miss out when they're taking herbs is like, if we think about what we're adding to our body, it's good. But what's better is what are we removing? Because a lot of things that we add, if the body's not removing, you're just like, it's not even getting to where it needs to go. And so we got into doing
that space for the healing.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, what people don't realize is you'll get more out of not eating for a few days than taking a bunch of supplements. You know what I mean? Because your body is able to, it wants to heal itself. And but the thing is, if we keep adding, the body has to deal with what you're adding.
It's like a to-do list.
It's like kids in a house, right? It's like if you have kids in the house and you're cleaning, you're always going to be cleaning because there's kids in the house. You got to get the kids out the house so we can clean the house, and then the house gets clean. And so that's the same thing with the kids or the food, right? So it's like and not that food is bad, but it just, all food has a byproduct. Everything when it's broken down has a byproduct that has to go through the lymph system. And so some things are more complex than others. Like if something is more acidic, your body has to work harder to get rid of it. And so we came up with like our detox herb. It does have a mild laxative in it, but it's really good for like building gut flora and helping. It's called peristalsis, which is sorry, almost.
That's okay.
Thank you. The little muscles that line the intestines and the colon. They're little round muscles. And when those work good, we have great bowel movements. But a lot of us, those get sluggish because we're not eating enough good fiber. And so the body doesn't have to work hard. And so then it gets lazy, just like anything else. If you don't work it out, then it stops working as good. It's like a muscle. It's just a muscle that you haven't used. And so that's what that is. We have both of those that work they work in synergy together. One's balancing everything out, and then the other one's helping to clear. And so that with mixed with the diet, though, that's the other thing, is that it works for people who are on an American standard diet. But when you really start to clean and you realize, like, let me just put clean things in my body, herbs work a lot better. You know what I mean? And so like everything, you can feel it. And so it's difficult sometimes when people are like, well, I took this and I didn't feel it. I'm like, well, you got to probably clean the diet up a little bit first before it really take effect. Because when you get really sensitive, I'm very sensitive to things. I can immediately feel them. So if I take ashwagandha, I know that I took ashwagandha. I'm like, oh, okay, that's why everything is like more. And even I got some really good postpartum tea off of Etsy. It just tasted really good. I really liked her mix. Some of the things that you recommended, I was just looking for. And it had like alfalfa, it had nettle, it had chamomile, it had red raspberry. But that, I swear, helped me get through what? He's okay. He's just, I know, but he's tired unless you're going to put him to sleep. Here, if you want him. Or take him upstairs real quick. Oh, but it had all of those things in it that you had recommended, especially like for when iron gets depleted and just to help level things out. And I just felt like that tea, I ordered 2 bags of it and I've almost went through both bags. And it just really, every morning I looked forward to it because I just felt like it reset me and reset my hormones. And I don't know if it probably had something to do with how everything kind of snatched back up real quick too. Because I know that helps with the uterine contractions and all of that. And then I think too, when you told me like what I take, he gets. So then I was like, okay, I I added hella more chamomile in there too. So I'm like, okay, we need the chamomile so we can calm it down. I feel like
I love chamomile.
Well. You said what? I
love chamomile.
Chamomile, sorry.
No, chamomile. It's either way.
Tomato.
Have you been giving him droppers of it?
No, that, but also putting his chew rags in chamomile.
Oh, great.
With it, because he's got 4 teeth already, and he's not even 6 months, but his fangs are coming in first, which is interesting.
Oh, interesting.
He don't have his
not the front one.
2 bottom and then fangs, and I'm just like, oh. But these ones are you can tell.
Maybe he's gonna be a carnivore. I don't know.
A little vampire baby. No, you never know.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I would recommend. I think because my friend, granted she was on her 3rd baby and she had a C-section for all her kids, but she had so much pressure on her floor, and I'm like, but she never even gave birth like through the canal. She was like, telling me, she's like, it hurts so bad, like I'm peeing myself, you know what I mean? And then my cousin's girlfriend, she had got pregnant a couple months after me, and she spent like the last month in bed because it hurt so bad to stand, and her feet were so swollen, and like, you know what I mean? Like I never had my feet didn't swell. I mean, if they did, it wasn't swelling where I couldn't wear my shoes. You know what I mean? I could still, even the day I gave birth, I went for probably a 2-mile walk prior. Cause like the night before I had like period cramps, and I'm like, ooh, what is this? Am I going into labor? But then they stopped. So I was like, I think I'll be okay. So I went and walked in the morning, and that ended up being like, I didn't think I was gonna get. I thought he was gonna come late. I just had no pain, and everybody I was talking to was like, "Oh, you can feel the pressure, and you'll feel this." And I was like, "Okay," just didn't have that. So
your pelvic floor was just strong enough. You didn't ever get that.
Yeah,
and definitely. you might if you had another baby, sometimes 2nd, 3rd, 4th. I would assume feel them more down low.
Yeah, probably because and you're older. I feel like age too. I mean, not that. I feel like, obviously the more you take care of yourself, the better. But obviously, your age does have an effect on things,
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. Should we believe that? Maybe not.
I don't know. I feel like, we stop doing things that keep us healthy and mobile. And that's what makes us age, more quickly. Yeah.
Absolutely. I would agree with that. And just, even mentally too, like if you're not doing things that you love, every day, I think you get older.
Yeah.
Because you never told me your age, but I always thought we were the same age. You're like, no, I'm really older than you.
I know, I'm 44.
Yeah. Oh, really? You look great. I knew you weren't too much older than me. I'm like, there's no way you're in our 50s. If you did, then I would really need your secret. Like, hold on.
Oh, let me just look at my little list here and see if there's anything. We didn't really talk about your birth story like in detail, but let's do that another time and just talk about that in particular. But maybe just if there's any particular moment in your birth where you were like, I don't know, that just stands out to you or that surprised you.
The damn thing not hooking up to the shower. I just in my mind,
the birth tub.
I was gonna have this beautiful birth in the water, and I tried to get in the little small bathtub, and it was horrible. And I was just like, "Get me out of here! He's not coming. He doesn't want to be in the water." And I mean, then the other one was like when you obviously asked me because I kept trying to get him out and couldn't get him out, and then like you were like, I have to offer you like to go get an emergency C-section, but you told me like you could see his head, and in my mind I was just like, am I gonna give birth like in an ambulance? You know what I mean? Or driving?
Yeah.
Or am I gonna?
Because his heart rate was dipping down a little bit. That was like, you don't really know. I know. That's what it means when it does that. Could be fine. Could not be fine. And you were like, he's coming.
No, because it was like this whole time I'm like, I said, if there's just no way I can't go into a hospital, I can't get a C-section. I was just like, I mean, I could if it was like a dire emergency, hey, but it just felt like he's already in the canal. Like he's already, you could see his hair. So I'm like, I don't know what you need to do to get him out or what we need to do, but we need to try something else. Like you got to give me at least 30 more minutes. I can't do that right now. And then, but you had a brilliant idea. You were like, when's the last time you peed? which, I mean, that's like thinking on your toes. I'm like, I don't remember the last time I peed. You're like, let's get your bladder out then. You put that catheter in there and release my bladder. And I think that really
emptied your bladder.
Emptied the bladder. And so then I think that helped a lot. And then I think I was just in the wrong position as well. Like I should, once I put my leg up, you were like, oh, there it goes. But I just felt so weird. Like I had to be on all fours. Like it felt so weird to be on my back or to be in another position. But I think standing or like squatting would have probably had him help come out. But I was just so exhausted at that point.
Yeah, you really wanted to be on hands and knees. And honestly, your pelvic floor was so strong, and it happens sometimes that it really seemed like the soft tissue was like preventing him from coming down. Once I actually like went inside and stretched from the inside to give him a little bit more room, he came right out. But I had, that was just like innovating on the spot.
But it was, I mean, to me,
to like stretch you, but it worked quick.
No,
it
that's the thing. Yeah, you did release the bladder, and then you were like, "Look, can I go up in there?" And I'm like, I'm like, you offered me a C-section. You can do whatever you want. I just told them, like, I don't care. Just get him out of here. But it was also, it was motivating because you could see his head, and so that's the thing. Like you were like, he's just stuck. Your pelvic floor is tight as shit. So it was like having to move that out the way, and I just felt like, I never got the ring of fire. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when he slid out, it never felt like no, there was none of that. It just was like it was stuck in there. And once he came out, it was so much relief. It just was like, oh, thank God. Because it was just you just can't push no more. It was like I didn't have nothing left in me, and I was trying my hardest. But I think you were right. It was like that's probably why his heart rate was going down. He's got all this force pushing on him, but when he's stuck, he just gets squished. You know what I mean? And he's like, poor guy. And then even my placenta was hard to get out. Like we had to tug that out. You were like, you're gonna have to push this thing out too. And I'm like, God, like more. It was just, I didn't even want that to come out at that point. I was like, I can't.
No more.
No more. But I was so grateful to have you, and I just felt like you really saved, like, because I just don't know if anybody else would have done that. You know what I mean? Like I think people get scared. I think fear takes over. And like you became one of those people in the moment who are like able to take control, which is great because it was like, okay, what needs to be done then? Like my mind just has to move the fear. And then like, which I think that's the thing about being connected to spirit is like, in that moment, you might not have pre-thought that or thought to do that prior, but it popped up in your head and you were like, okay, boom, let's act on this thought. And then you're like, okay, you know what? I can see his head. For some reason, let me just see, can I put my hands in there? Can I move your skin out the way? And can we get him out? And those are the type of people in the midst of chaos and emergency. Like you need people who know how to act like that. You know what I mean? And it's because you just did what you had to do and you were thinking outside of the box. It's creative, right? You're like, okay, what can we do? And I'm one of those people too. Like if I can't figure something out, I'm going to try different ways. Like, let me see if I can do it with this. Let me see if I can find something that might fit here. Just creative, even though it's midwifery and maybe you've done those things before. But it's to act in the moment.
Maneuver before.
You said you never did that?
Never done that particular maneuver before. No, it was just like.
See, then you learn something too. It's great.
Yeah.
You're like, now I know what to do.
He's just right there.
No, it was. And then he came out and he didn't need any oxygen. That oxygen helped too. That was like the best thing ever. But he didn't need oxygen when he came out. His heart rate normalized. But I did start praying. I remember at one point, like, I just started asking God, like, let him come through, like, let him be okay. You know what I mean? And like, I feel like his heart rate like normalized a little bit after that. And then he came soon after. But I'm like, he wanted to be born on that day too. He was like, I started labor on this day, but I really want to be born this day. Like he waited. He wanted to come out when he wanted to come.
So, divine time. Yeah.
It was divine timing for sure. He's a witch. He was a witching hour baby. So, he was like, I'm going to make an appearance right in the middle of the night. But so I just was very appreciative. And I think that I've like, I was like trying to write your Google review and Penelope's. And I was just like, okay, maybe you guys were like, okay, don't be too graphic on the Google review. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't.
That's up to you. Yeah.
I was like, let me rewrite it. Well, again, I studied detoxification. So it's just like, when you start doing that and you see what comes out of the body, like you just don't have at that point, you're like, everything, nothing's off limits. You know what I mean? Like we're going to have nasty conversations to get people to detox. Cause like, I need you to know things might come out of you that are very disgusting. So then I think
now they're in you. So you probably want them out.
You need them out. They need to come out. So I mean, it just is what it is. So I just don't have that filter, as far as that kind of stuff goes. But yeah, no, we were so appreciative, and it just was such a beautiful moment to be able to be in like my own house in my own bed, and like having gone through all that, you just feel like a warrior, and you just feel like, again, if emotionally the toughest thing was like losing my mom, then physically the toughest thing is giving birth, like what it kind of creates is like this, you just have a more like indestructible viewpoint for things, because it's like, okay, I know that I can suffer, you know what I mean, that like beyond my suffering, like there is like, it's almost like the end of a rainbow in a sense, like there's always something that you can get if you can sit through suffering, and so
and stay present and fully in your body,
and feel it in it,
just let all the feels move through you.
And again, surrender, and you don't have a choice. And so it's just like, and I think that's the big thing too, is like, if you're given a choice, then in that moment of suffering, do you, like if you don't have a choice and you have to suffer, then you just have to sit in it. And that was my main thing. I just remove all my choices for I'm going to go through this, and this is what I want to do. Like, and I don't there's no exit route. Like, let's just go, let's do it. Because I'm like, and I don't think that I would do it different next time. You know what I mean? I think if I ever did it again, I would just do it again, and I would go through the suffering. Even though you said the first baby blazes the trail, so the second baby is a little easier if you ever do choose. But people always try to scare you with horror stories and stuff too. They're just like, you're gonna do it natural. Oh my God, do you know? And I'm like, I don't know, but I heard. So I'm assuming this is gonna be the worst pain I ever went through. So you know what I mean? There's only so much mental preparation I can do for something that I don't know,
Yeah.
But I know the pain is temporary, and pain is, you can't even remember pain. Like we just try to make a mental note about pain. But if I try to like relive the experience right now, I can't relive physical pain. You know what I mean? Like I just know that it hurt, but I can't think in my body, well, how did this hurt? You know what I mean? Like, so it's such an interesting thing. I think it's good. I think it's good for you in a sense, which is crazy.
Yeah. Otherwise we would just like, I don't know, we wouldn't want to do anything, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot, there's suffering, great and small.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a great thing. I'm just, like I said, I would suggest anybody to, of course, birth is your own, and I think that birth has a lot to do with like levels of consciousness too. You know what I mean? And like what do you want your experience to be? I don't even think women who walk into midwifery, like they're obviously thinking completely different than somebody who's like, I'm going straight to the hospital, like I'm gonna have all of the things. You know what I mean? Like, not saying it's not a bad choice, but to me, it's maybe if you had all of the information, would you still make that choice? You know what I mean? Like if you were able to think critically, and you were able to see everything, and like make, very informed decisions about each and every little part of your birth, like, would you say, take me straight to the hospital? I want all of the things. I want all of the shots. I want the blood test while it's still in the womb. I want every single ultrasound. Like, I don't know that you would choose that if you had full information on it. So
I think our culture and society doesn't really offer that information
they don't. No, they
willingly,
don't.
Especially like the long-term health.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And like I said, there's nothing wrong. I'm not judging anybody. And I think that there's always emergencies. There's always things you got to do. And you make the right, no matter what decision you make, it's the right decision. Right? Like that's just the way life goes. You made the right decision, no matter if you thought it was the wrong one. It's still the right one at that time.
Yeah.
Definitely not shaming anyone for anything, but just, I think that like, the more that we go into things like the women before us, in a sense, I think like, the medical industry has shifted how we think about everything. But like before that, like our ancestors were like the women before us, like, ooh, none of them even had the option. So you know, and like you said, you worked with the Amish people and they are like not on that either. And that's definitely a different mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's like a worldview, a certain perspective that you have to have that capacity to hold life and death in the same room, which
absolutely
and a lot of the Amish have also, just like, that both of these possibilities are always with us.
Absolutely.
It's like choosing to surrender to like the mystery of the world.
Well, absolutely. And that, I think, if underneath all fears in life is death. That's what we don't realize as a society. Like every single fear you have, it leads to death. You're scared you don't have enough money because you're scared you won't be able to pay your rent, and you don't have a roof over your head, then you don't have any food, and then you don't have any water, and then you'll die. Like literally stems down to that every single time. And so like until we meet that fear, we are always going to act out of it. And so it's very like if you choose to go down there and meet that, like your perspective has no choice but to shift. And so like I think that's really important. But again, I don't think it's for everybody. I think that like, certain souls come here to learn certain lessons, and like some of us are come to learn that, and some of us don't. Not in this lifetime, at least. Yeah. But yeah, we appreciate your time. I was gonna say my little guy, he's over here pacing the hallway with him. Like,
thank you so much for meeting and just sharing so fully about your experience with having a baby and life. I mean, you just shared so much.
Well, I love that, you're doing a podcast. I think it's great. I think you get to deal with so many different personalities and people that like it's good to like let people know about this space, because like until you enter it, you have no clue, right? And then like this kind of stuff really provides like ground for women to like, okay, maybe this is something I want to research. Like maybe somebody heard it and said, oh, okay, you know what? Like let me look into this. Like what things can I do to provide this body with nutrients or whatever it is, But yeah, I definitely, I think it's great. I think it's good to just share anything, like
these stories are so amazing. All of so many amazing stories.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
People just benefit from hearing.
I just went on a ride, and so it was just such a ride, and but it was, looking back, it's beautiful, and like all of and for all of us, all your trials and tribulations, if you can turn them into something, and like use them, then it makes it worth it. You get the ultimate pride. You get the empathy, you get the compassion, you get the conviction, you get, the patience. Like you just get like the sight of the cycles that happen, right? You have the foresight of a cycle, and you're just like, when you're in it and you're in it, you're just like, okay, I gotta just be in this right now. There's nothing I can do. So thank you so much.
Oh, okay. Well, let me see. Maybe I will put in the comments or show notes, however this works, links to your business too.
That would be great.
And if there's anything like from your pregnancy that you would specifically recommend to vegan moms.
Sure. Yeah, no, I can give a couple products, and definitely ours. And like, of course, I don't recommend the detox one for pregnant women.
But maybe beforehand.
But when you're done, and even not even for breastfeeding, but like after, because I like definitely, I know we can get constipated too sometimes breastfeeding, but like I feel like I took one time and I felt like he pooped too, and I'm always so that came through the breast milk. So
detox is strong. I mean,
but he's strong. I definitely make a list of things that I used, and like, but I, obviously to research everything first and to be intuitive about choices, because sometimes even things that are really good for us, depending on like, you could take a lot of spirulina or a lot of green food, but if your body is not used to that, it might send you to the bathroom. You know what I mean? So it's like, is that something that you want to be doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like we kind of have to like, our dosages need to be measured. And like, if you haven't had certain things before, just make sure you clearly, research everything. Cause I think that's big. I could tell people, oh yeah, I fasted and this and that. And you can't just go into a fast, not like a water one. You know what I mean? Like you got to baby step everything. But yeah, I would love to share. So I can send you like a list, I guess.
Yeah, if there's a couple things. Yeah, if it feels good to you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you so much again. And yeah.
Absolutely. No, yeah. If you never need anything, just let me know. I'm always open and available to talk.
Likewise.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Big hugs. Bye.